Hello and welcome to another video by NSD. Check out our other videos, check out our channel, hit that subscribe button because we talk a lot about navigating customer support and documentation, the tools you need and subscriptions. They can help you navigate customer support and documentation. In this video, we're going to talk about creating a Stonely guide, onboarding guides, whatever you want to call them, using Stonely. Stonely is a SaaS that allows you to do that, and today I'm going to take you through a very detailed guide from step A to Z. What do you need to do? Where do you need to click? And I'm going to be your guide through the journey. I hope you enjoy talking to me or being with me, and whenever you get a chance to follow along, here is a toast to you, because kudos for doing that. What I've done is already gone ahead and gone to Stonely, sign up for free, and then enter your name, your work email, and your password, and then you sign up. So you're going to get an email, you have to verify all that stuff, click on the verification, and then you'll be where I am at. Okay, so self-support, product tours, next. That's great. Okay, so thousands of companies to write. Great, nice. Let's get started. So, in essence, what Stonely gets you to do for your own SaaS is exactly what you just spent 2 seconds seeing me go through. So this guide, how it slides through different steps with nice curated messages and options, clickable options, for a user to choose what to do and what to learn next. So this is exactly what Stonely allows you to do for your own SaaS, and we're getting started. Excuse me there. All right, so what we need to do next is confirm our website. So I'll hit next on that, and then let it do its magic. So I'm going to say add extension. So an extension is a key part of how Stonely works. I see here 2,000 users. Add extension. All right, so the extension has been added. Going to our website now, and the guide essentially wants us to do that as the next step on getting guides or product tours on our website. All right, so URL scheme, URL starts with navigatedocumentation.com. all right, so add a rule. The way you make Stonely show the different slides in the tour that you want them to show is by setting up a series of triggers. So one trigger can happen just as an independent kind of event, or you could make it a trigger dependent on something else happening, or if it doesn't happen, and you can imagine all the different combinations and scenarios that you can make out of that. So in this case, we are starting the first trigger to be as visiting, simply visiting the website navigatedocumentation.com, and as you can see here, we can change the kind of rule it is, whether it's an and or. So those are the two options you have, and you can change it here, and then you can say URL is not contained, starts with, does not contain. So there's different things to match different kinds of URLs, and the reason why Stonely is set up this way is because in essence, it allows you to determine what subdomain did the user come from, depending on your different marketing activities or funnels for getting users. And so this is how you can determine what kind of user guide experience or product tour experience your user needs and what you will deliver to them. This is a URL you came up with for Black Friday. So that's how you would kind of add an and clause to that, and then you can add a new rule. So the new rule would be, well, we don't have to add a new rule, but if you needed to, you could also add one. Now you know that. So this is the URL rules. So the different stages. The first stage is URL rules, followed by content to display, settings, and then targeting. And that's what makes up a series, like one set of a product tour that you can show to your users depending on the rules that you've set up or the triggers that you've set up. So now that we've set the URL rules, let us go to content to display. So content type, let's look at the content types. So the first content type is a guide. Now a guide is when you launch a single guide or a particular step from this trigger, and it's sort of one singular experience. It's not interconnected in any way. And a guided tour is a launch guided tour or walkthrough from this trigger. So this is sort of a tour is more comprehensive. It involves different guides. A guide may be focused on perhaps showing one slide or focusing one simple task in a very small amount of slides, and while there's a guided tour is more comprehensive than that. And then there's a knowledge base. So launch your entire knowledge base or a portion of it from this trigger. Knowledge base essentially is a content type that pulls up articles from a knowledge base that you can create through Stonely. As you can see here, there's a knowledge base button right in the top left, and there you go. What we're interested in right now is building a guided tour, and that's exactly what we're going to select. So now we get to sort of preload guided tours that we may have saved if we have already. This is just a template that Stonely creates for everybody, and so what we're going to do here is maybe we're going to select that template because Stonely already prepared it, and it's just an example. We're going to edit it for you to see how those work and how you can publish it still, but for this example we're going to choose the Stonely two-step tour template. So we then we select the start. So start, first step, you can call a specific step by selecting that and then choosing the different steps that you've created as part of your guide. So anyway, this is first step. Then we go to settings. So this is just sort of where you kind of control how users get to experience different parts of your widget and how it appears on their screen. So whether you can where they can close it, where the button is located, as well as essentially when and how many times they see this guide appear on their screen. So we could say maybe display widget after a delay. That's going to show you the power of this. We're gonna put, let's say 30 seconds maybe. Alright, so next is targeting, and under targeting you can add conditions. So targeting is a feature that Stonely has that needs to be used with segment, and to do that you need to initiate your integration with segment. Now if you don't know what segment is, in order to enable targeting for any guide or product or guided tour that you create using Stonely. So the integration is important because it's how the data about your users essentially is integrated with Stonely. Well, only the data needed to make this work, right? And essentially once you complete that integration, you're able to target different users based on their sources and segments as well by demographic, and give them different experiences or different guides or guided tours that you've created with Stonely. Now all you have to do there is start, and essentially this is a process that requires your developer team as well, so I won't go too deeply into it, but what you want to do then is to essentially visit the Stonely destination connection page in your segment account, and then from that point on provide your Stonely API key in the subsequent view. So that's basically what it takes to do that integration, but we won't go too deep into it so that we continue with our journey here. And so over here we are going to skip. Once you create your guide as it is right now and your URL is properly properly connected and verified to your Stonely account, what you can then do at this point is just save, and right off the bat you can go to the website for testing purposes. So here we're gonna hit enter again, and then you'll see the Stonely guide appear. So there you go, it appeared after 30 seconds, which is what it was set for. And then you click next, and then the guide shows you something on the website, and then again the user can close the bubble and stuff like that. And so what these guides are really great for is that they really help you direct attention to different parts of your website or your SaaS application itself. And depending on whatever however you want to use it, they're still really useful and relevant to today, especially in the world where more and more users are discovering SaaS products without any kind of engagement with your sales team, or you don't even have one in the first place. And so your product really needs to be empowered to sell itself on its own, and Stonely is a great way to empower it that way. So now let's quickly get down to editing some of those, to editing an actual guide, the content on it, because here we just set up a trigger, and so this is a demo pop-up. But remember, a trigger needs content. Content was one of the sort of 4 sections of or settings of a trigger, of a full trigger. And so now we are going to look at the content and how to change that. All right, and so, well, we saw how the Stonely guides appear. Now we're going to have a quick look at how to design them. Okay, so what I wanted to do is find the color of my brand NSD. Well, I did, and now we can move forward. And so the pill is this part that is sort of the menu of the widget, you could call it. And then again, the pill design icon, or the pill icon design, can be a question mark or look like a interesting pyramid. So now we're going to go to the settings. So the nice thing about Stonely is that you can activate the Stonely widget by adding this what would you call it, a suffix to a URL, so your website's URL, and so or whatever page you've added a Stonely guide to. And the cool thing about that is it allows you to test things out, demo, show it to other departments within your SaaS company, in order for them to approve it. Maybe it's customer support creating these, and marketing needs to have input. So that's a great way to share them by adding this suffix to your URL. And you can activate this and deactivate it as you please. There's also a developer essentially knowledge base or documentation that they have, where they answer different questions about probably their API, advanced applications as well of Stonely. So the nice thing about Stonely is that it allows you to make sure that your Stonely product tours or guides or guided tours are essentially only restricted to your website. Nobody else can use them somehow, siphon them really from your own website or traffic to have them on their own. And that's a great part, because what you can do is just enter the domains, whitelist the domains that you'd like for the guides you created to appear on, and then anything else out there on the internet will not have access to your guides. Once you want to create a trigger or are ready to create content for a guide, essentially come to the trigger section and click on add new trigger. So you can select different options here for the trigger. If we zoom in a bit further here, I hope you can see better. You see that there's a pill clickable icon appearing in the bottom corner of the screen. So that's a demo of the pill. There's hotspot, so it's just to show something somewhere on the website, and there's the icon that appears for more info. Clickable element, it just kind of highlights what the door behind that button holds, or what that button holds once you open it, once you click on it. Direct launch, display guides automatically when certain criteria is met. So this is just sort of something that appears once a user does something, maybe spends X amount of time or hovers over something, or maybe they're idle for a long time, right? And so those are the kind of triggers you can bring up with the direct launch. And then there's a banner as well. So what we're going to focus on is, I think, creating we're going to do two things. We're going to create a pill and a direct launch, but let's start with the direct launch first. And all right, so now we're going to start the direct launch. And so again, we have to set up rules here. Instead of just the basic navigate, you get the URL from the website. I want to catch the users when they are on the case studies page, and then paste it here, and then I'm going to add a rule. So URL is, and then there's no need for another rule. Select guide, personal. So the way Stonely works is like this. Whenever you want to create a new trigger, so a trigger is a user doing something and some kind of guide, however you've planned it, shows up. The planning of how that guide or a series of guides to make up a tour appears to the user is by setting triggers. Now, in order to create a trigger, you most importantly need content, right? That's the most important thing, and then a domain of some kind that you own where those guides and those guides will appear. Now, the content, how you create it is you don't do it under triggers, but you have to click and open the menu on the top right, click on guides management, and then it's going to bring you to this page. And so this is where you're going to find the two-step tour that Stonely generically made for our website. You can see that it's controlled here. The settings are at least. And so we can go back, and once we do, we can create our own brand new one. But to make it simple for ourselves, let's make a duplicate of the two-step tour. So confirm, and then we are going to edit it. So editing is pretty simple. If you used any kind of editor, well, the Google Doc, Notion, whatever you use at work, I'm sure you'll find this really intuitive. So enter title, we just say welcome. Why don't I make this for my case studies page? We know you like our work. Or let's just say, let me make it something nice, warm, and salesy, right? So you like our work. Let's chat about yours. Something like that. So this is just like a nice cheesy pop-up or guide that will appear. And instead of actually guiding somebody through the application of a software here, I'm just quickly going to, make it seem as if I am creating a guide that's going to talk about getting in touch with my consulting business. And here we'll see. Hyperlink here, Control V, okay, and then this we're going to edit it to say so we can discuss. All right, and so here we can change the media. Instead of this flimsy icon, we can edit it to something different. We're seeing here if we can upload media. So not really, but that's all fine. We will just add an envelope, documentation, document, save, add highlighted element. So select an element in your page, type CSS. So this is something that you can add a highlighted element for, and so when the guide appears, not only will people see the guide that you've prepared, but an element as well will be highlighted, and you can select an element on your page or type CSS selector manually, and then you can name the element. So step display modal, so this is just sort of how you want it to appear. There's different settings here for widget type, widget format as well, classic and light. I'll go for light. I like that light look. And then pop-up size, medium, next steps, untitled step, add a possible choice. So choice number 1, choice 2. So once the user is done reading this slide, which we are preparing here, this is what we're designing here, the next step. So you can say choice 1 is next, or you can add a second choice of what the user can do, and those choices can be a guide button or UI interaction, and that could be, needing a user to click a button that is part of your user interface, as opposed to something that is part of directly that guide or guided tour that you're creating. So without any further ado here, we will just move forward. So we created the content, we added the icon here. There's no need to necessarily select anything, but we can do that. We can make it be the here button. Here, open. It's loading. All right. Okay, so the great thing is, okay, so I tried selecting a UI element. That didn't go so successful, but nonetheless, that's okay. I think I'm just going to add a step here though. Choice 1, let's call it let's call this contact us now. So all right, so as you can see there, I just typed out a whole speech on why trust us. So I'm going to make that the second step of my Stonely guide here, and I'm not going to add any media, but I am going to maybe put a link to some kind of link, right? No, I think that's unnecessary. I think we should just I think I should get rid of this highlighted element, and then in essence also get rid. or point to the contact us page, right? So guide button UI interaction. Let me say UI interaction. Add new. Cancel. I think the clear thing here is an external link, and then the link I'm gonna get is just the same link to the contact us page. Nothing too fancy here. So that's where we're gonna go. And then I'm gonna copy the link. Bam. Once I copy the link, it is game over because I can now paste this. Go back because I just completed one step. Why trust us? This is what happens. Then I have to go to next. So as you can see, there's a menu on the far left, and on this pane you kind of see the different steps within your tour. So the tour starts with the main name and page, and then there's the next button of why trust us, or we're going to add another option, and it will appear beneath why trust us with a green dot next to it. So we're going to go back here. Then we're gonna add a next step, which is choice number 2. We're going to make it a very brand new step. So it's just going to take us to the same contact us page, or rather, instead of the contact us page, it's going to take the user to a to my calendar tool. So let's quickly get the link again, and then I think I'm going to change the first choice again as well to that. So let's schedule a call. So I'm just going to add that, create step. Please set at least one path to the next step. All right, so I'm going to add here, well, not really, not like that, but I'm going to add external link here, and then paste the link to my Calendly, and then add, and then here again I'm going to change this to an external link, and then paste my Calendly and open. And so now what I've done is just create 2 ways to basically get people to schedule a call with me. And so now what we've done is completed setting up a whole guide, and so now what we need to do is connect it to add it to a trigger, and thus have it appear on our website in actual fact. So we're going to rename this to contact NSD, right? And so I'm going to save and publish. And then now it's time to make it actually go live by going back to, so let's zoom back out quickly and then exit the content editor here, and then we're gonna go back to, by the way, you can switch over from widget to guides, and basically under widget is where you create triggers, and then guides is where you actually build out the content itself. So I'm going to name this, or create a new trigger, and I'm going to name it I'm gonna name it well, I'm just going to continue editing the direct launch trigger that I created. So URL is whenever they go to the case studies page. So I just need to navigate back to that. So the case studies page, I copy this, right? And then I will go to back to Stonely. Oh wow, again, wrong keyboard here, folks. Case studies page, copy the URL, go back to widget, paste it, and then now it's time. So, well, that's not really how it works, it seems, huh? So let me see, guided tour. All right, there we go, contact NSD. So I guess you need to be careful how you tag your guides. There might be a guided tour or just a guide, and depending on what it is, it may or may not show up in your triggers when you're opening it up. So start, first step, okay, and then settings, limit the number. So display widget after a delay. Let's say maybe it comes up. Obviously, you probably want to make this after a few minutes, or maybe after a minute. But for the sake of this demo, I'll make it 30 seconds. Here, that's me again typing into the wrong keyboard. And then now what we're going to do is save it. So we're going to save. Enable. So we just saved and then enabled the trigger. So this is about 2 days, 3 days later, where I've come back to actually finish what I started on Stonely. Last time you may recall that I set up the guides. So the guides essentially again is the actual content that the user will see, right? And these are the different slides that the user will see. So here you can see so if we quickly look here, so here you can see there's a content page, there's media that you can upload once again, and I actually went ahead and selected an element, a UI element. This is what's going to be highlighted when the guide appears. And one thing to fix here before I move on is that before this part of the video, I was struggling with essentially getting the trigger and the guide that I set up using Stonely to actually appear on my website. So remember that. Now what I did was I'm gonna need to get out of here now. So what I did first was on Stonely, I went to widget. So after signing in, to watch this part. But so what I did was go to widget, and then after going to widget, I went to settings, and then I copied this piece of code and pasted it in the head of all the HTML for the pages on my website. In your case, this may be on your within your SaaS application, so obviously that in the place where you paste this code snippet will be different, and in that case you can use the Chrome widget that they have as well, or go to the developer center to learn more about how you can get that done. Actually get anything you build on Stonely connected and visible on your website. And the developer center will also show you how to select UI elements, which again is something that you need to select when you are telling Stonely which element to highlight. And I'm just going to do that again. So select an element on your page. So after pasting the code on my website, I'm able to paste a direct link here for the element that will be highlighted once this guide appears. So I'll say open after pasting the URL. And then once it opens, my mouse will turn into a selector, and I just have to select the contact element here and say confirm. So you can change the border color, so the color of what you see there, and the border width. I'm gonna adjust the border width to be a lot more bigger, and then yeah, I think that's about it. Say confirm. Once you confirm, the element will be added here, and as long as everything else about your design is great, you can save and publish. And then we're just going to click publish here. And so once we publish, we can now go back to see and make sure that the trigger in the widgets section of Stonely is actually all set and ready to go. So again, here's the trigger. Once on the case studies page, the guided tour guide that we just showed you will be displayed after 30 seconds. So okay, let's test it out. So now I'm going to open a new tab, and it is the moment of truth. So we're going to go to navigatedocumentation.com/case studies. Pam pararam. Here it is. So as you can see, powered by Stonely, there's now a guide appearing on my website on the link here, and it says, "Hi there, you're here because you probably have an exhausting documentation or technical writing problem. Schedule a call here so we can discuss analysis of key knowledge gaps and topics to be understood, advice on customer support and documentation tools plus configuration, project cost estimation or plans." Next. So once you click next, it's going to bring up this dialogue. Why trust us? As you've seen, we work with global companies like Microsoft and Upwork, blah blah blah. And so when you go back, you can then click let's schedule, and that's going to take you to a external link, and it's a schedule page for you to schedule a time with me. So yeah, I hope that showed you and inspired you to use Stonely. Once again, these are guides that you can, in my case, I added it to a website, just a standard website, but you can use Stonely particularly to embed these guides within your SaaS. This was just a small scale example of what they could look like, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you take full advantage of Stonely. This has been another NSD video, and happy SaaSing.